Welcome to processing quality scholars requests for credit-bearing coursework on the QIP tool. For now, we will be essentially using the same tool that we use for training hours, quality scholars requests, so that we can start processing the quality scholars requests automatically with PDP and also getting some richer data within the planning tool. In the future, we will be integrating into the education goals tool that the Career Development Services use that's also on the Institute dashboard. But for now, we'll be showing the simplified version of entering quality scholars for credit-bearing requests. To get started again, I'm going to search for my test site. I am in the live QIP. I should be in QIS mode just to make sure everything looks right. Now I'm going to go to my goals list. Just going to grab my first goal again here. Let's just assume this is the one that involves some credit-bearing coursework. And I'm going to add a new PD task under my PD task tabs. Task. So I'm just going to call this, I need some ECE credits for licensing here. The Duke 101. That's just my reminder. I can put in the actual name of the course. I must put in the actual name of the course later. This is just the title for my task. The title of your task could be the name of the course. It could be, Education 201 for Sally Smith, or whatever you think a good title would be for your task to help you keep track. That is internal. Just going to add a standard quickly. You're of course going to add the appropriate standard. I'm going to say, what date does this course start on? It starts at the end of the month. The manager for these quality scholars requests is quite important. It's kind of for your internal data and tracking for purchases and for practice-based tasks, but for quality scholars requests, this is actually whose information is going to be included in the request as the director on record for PDP. So I'm going to select that director so that they get incorporated into the automated report that goes to PDP and in the email. Your information as a QI specialist will be automatically entered. So don't select yourself as the manager, as I know we probably have gotten in the habit of doing for other things. Okay, so this is going to improve program quality and Q and E scores and save this request, save this task. Okay, so I've got my new task down here, my Education 201 for Sally Smith down here. Now, in order to process a quality scholars request through the QIP, I'm going to need to add my PD details. I've got a couple of reminders up here, but we'll see similar instructions when we click through. So I'm going to add my details for this request. Now you'll see this is looking exactly like the training hours request, but it will start to differentiate itself here pretty quickly. So again, reminders that I need to complete and submit this entire form. When I do, a report will be sent to PDP that they can load into their system, and also an email will go out to them. An email will go to you. A reminder that you cannot edit these once you've submitted them. So previewing your request before we send it out is very important. We will take a look at that. Okay, so here I'm going to select my PD type. This is kind of my request type, really. We've got all these options, but the only option we're really focused on in this case is credit-bearing course or credential. Now, again, if I'm doing some kind of credential that's non-credit bearing, I would do PD hours toward a credential, non-credit bearing. But if I'm doing a credit bearing CDA, if I'm doing CPAC, I would pick credit bearing as I'm doing in this video. Okay, so this credit bearing course, this triggers another selection that I need to make. What is my educational goal here? What are these credits working toward? This is internal data for now. This will help us tie in with career development later, and it'll also help track what different folks in your cases are working on. So you've got quite a few options here. Hopefully it's exhaustive. Credits for licensing, if you just need some ECE credits, if the person just needs some ECE credits for licensing. Teacher certification, if they're non-matriculated and just getting credits, they're not finishing a master's or a bachelor's in a program, but they just need some ECE credits to polish off. Their requirements for teacher certification, credit-bearing CDA coursework. Again, if I was doing non-credit-bearing CDA, I would pick another selection for the request type. Some other credit-bearing certificate other than the CDA. Am I completing an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's? Am I doing the CPAC specifically or some other advanced certificate? And am I working on a doctorate? Okay, so those are the selections for this person. I think we said credits for licensing for Sally, but so I'm going to jump in to say credits for licensing. That doesn't change anything about the form. That just gives us a little bit of extra data about what this attendee is working on, this student. Okay, so now I need to go into my course details. They're slightly different from when we do training hours in that we have a course title. Let's just call this Understanding Young Children. And the course code here is EDUC 201. The course code and the title will be combined together in the final report, so you don't need to include the course code up here. We like to break it out in data for analysis and for business rule checking and things like that. So we have both parts here. If all you have for the course title is the course code, or it's Education 201, that's fine. It's just to give us the information. You still would want to fill out both fields. Okay, so this course starts the end of the month, ends beginning of April. This is an in-person class. It is worth 4 credits. And the requested amount, this is the amount that we're requesting from Quality Scholars to cover this course. I'm going to say $500. The course actually costs $650, but I'm requesting, this number is just for internal data, the cost of the course, and we'll fix these typos. This is the requested amount that's actually sent to SUNY PDP, the amount of money that's being requested for the course. So I'm going to save this here. And I've got my course details all filled out. Now I need to select my institution. This again is a list of the organizations that have an agreement with SUNY PDP to accept Quality Scholars dollars. So you must select a vendor off here for a Quality Scholars request. All the vendors are here. All of the approved training organizations are here. We don't yet have them separated out into which ones offer credits versus training hours. So you'll just need to dig through a little bit. I'm going to select Adirondack Community College here. And you can see popping up down here, some of the fiscal contact information is missing for this vendor. So we would need to fill some out. I always have the option to fill out fiscal contact information if I happen to be working with somebody other than the default contact. I'll show you on my test vendors, I actually have default contact. In this case, you wouldn't need to fill any out if this is the person you are working with. You always have the option to fill out, say, well, this isn't the person, this isn't the fiscal contact I worked with at this organization. You could fill out an alternate. This information is not sent back to PDP, but is for our reference in case we need to close the loop on something. But I'm just going to go back to Adirondack Community College. And who was I working with? My fiscal contact at Adirondack is the assistant bursar. I don't know if that's a thing that exists, but let's see. Okay. All right. So now we just have their information in there so we know who we worked with, who we arranged things with for future reference. So now I've got my course details, my institution details in here. Now I need to add my attendee. Now attendees here is a little misleading because we're just selecting one. I think it's Test Teacher Strong who's going to this. I've got them there. Now, if I made a mistake and it was actually supposed to be somebody else, I don't want to, if I added attendees, I'd be adding another person here. So I want to remove the incorrect one first. And then add back the correct one. I actually meant this course is actually for Test Teacher 1 Strong. And those will, of course, be real names in your real cases. Okay, so I've got my attendee now who's taking the course. Now we need to upload my application. As we are working on this automated data exchange with SUNY PDP, they are still requesting that the PDF form be uploaded as a backup and as a reference so that they can reference it if they need to for the time being. So save that form. I can view it. It'll pop open in another tab and I can see, yep, there's my super professional Quality Scholars request form right there. So I've got my application. Any notes to self? These are just internal notes. These don't go to anybody. This is just for you. Remember to check in on this. So just notes about paying for this course and/or notes about the course itself. And I've got everything filled out. As I look back, I've got all my information, got my course details, I've got my approved institution, got my physical contact, got my attendee here. I uploaded my application and my notes are in. But before I submit, again, submitted requests cannot be edited. So let me just preview this submission here. I get a pop-up. It shows me who will be sent a confirmation. So in addition to SUNY PDP, a confirmation will go to you, the quality improvement specialist. Your email is right here. If this is blank or this is incorrect, you won't get your confirmation because this is the email the system's going to use. So let me know and we can update your staff profile if that is not correct. I can preview my uploaded application here. Again, this is going to come up in a pop-up. Okay, good. That's the link that will be sent to PDP so they can see your uploaded request. And again, you've got your grid here of the data that will be sent to PDP. So this is what the request looks like for them. A few tips here. Most of this is the same as training hours, except that the trainer name and Aspire ID will not be here. That is not required for coursework. So trainer info is not sent for credit bearing requests. You can see my course code, my reference code here was looped in with the title and combined in there into the course title. Got my credits, my course type ID 1, which comes out to college credit, but we're sending codes to PDP, but it's decoded over here for you. $500 is the amount we're requesting. We've got our start date, end date in a computer-friendly format, year, month, date. This is not asynchronous. We said it was in person. That's what this one means. Number of attendees 1, that should always be 1 for credit bearing coursework. And since we only have 1, we have the name in here. Attendee name must be present for credit bearing requests. So make sure you have a name in there. All right, my request is looking good. So I'm going to submit it. One more chance to back out and check my preview again, but I think I've got it. PD request submitted. Quality Scholars PD request has been submitted. Okay, so it's added to the data feed to PDP for them to pick up tonight. And an email has been sent to me and to them, me as the QI specialist. And I can look back over it. I cannot make changes. All my edit buttons are gone now, except my notes, because who cares? I can change those whenever I want. I can view my uploaded application, but I cannot re-upload. And I see my request ID, my internal QIP request ID there if I need to reference that. And I can still preview my submission just in case there's a question about anything or I need to know what was in the file for PDP. And we are all set. Let me take a bop into my email. We can see here's my confirmation. Quality Scholars request has been submitted. Some essential data about that. The request ID that PDP does have and you can reference, but that is our internal ID for this request. The QI specialist name, the site name, the title, and the date. And here we have the link again to the PDF version of the request that I uploaded. And there it is. Okay, and the final place that I can take a look at this is in the PD requests. And here we have my Adirondack Community College requests, my QI specialist, my program name, the number, and from here, if I needed to, I could jump back into that request and take a look at the details. And for now, that is how we will be submitting credit-bearing requests, Quality Scholars requests.